Well, it is the 1st of January, 2023, and I am going to screw up with the year. I always do it. 2023, I'm going to write 2022. But today is an update of what's going on with the S55. Not a lot, actually. Well, actually, a lot has been done. Let me turn on the light. So I'm going to give an update. Yesterday, I finished the timing chain setup. And anybody who's ever done timing chains, this is no big deal. But it's a complicated process. You have to line up these little copper plates with certain parts on the camshaft gear. You have to put this at 40 degrees, top dead center. Then line up the copper plate on a specific spot. It's complicated. And I put in new guide chain channels, all that stuff. The biggest challenge I had is trying to get the chain joined. When you buy them, these chains are actually come requiring to be hooked together. I couldn't find the tool. I tried and tried. I bought tools. I tried. I couldn't get it done. So I had to hire a mechanic, an independent Mercedes mechanic who's done this many times to do the work for me. Now, I couldn't film it because that's who he is. He didn't want it filmed. But I got the chain done. I got the oil drive chain done, the oil pump drive chain done. And everything's ready to go. So I had a friend come over and we were going to put the timing chain cover on, which is right here. There are so many bolts on this thing. There's a bolt there. I mean, there's bolts everywhere. Bolt, 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 bolt. Talk about German engineering. Bolt, bolt, bolt. There must be 25 bolts on this thing. That includes the water pump. We're missing one bolt, and that bolt... Oh, hold on. Sorry, I got interrupted. I had a friend come over. It's New Year's Day. We're going to have a little bit of a party. So what happened is I'm checking all the different bolts. This is the timing cover right there. And it's from All Data. And it's for a 2003 Mercedes S55, which is the car we're working on. We're missing one bolt, an M8 by 90. One bolt. And it goes right over, right over here. Now, and also, this is the coolant temp sensor. It's 20 years old and it's cracked. You can see right there, maybe it's cracked a little bit. Well, I'm not gonna go to all this trouble, put the thing back together and have a cracked sensor. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, this is an awesome car on so many levels. It's got a V8, a 5.5 liter V8. It's got a supercharger. I mean, yeah, it needed new rod bearings, but I learned that from the oil analysis done at Blackstone. So in order to put the timing chain cover back on, you obviously have to put gasket maker. And I've got the gasket maker. I had all the bolts, but I was missing one bolt, which goes right there. This friend of mine came over to check the quality of my work because this is not the time for an amateur do-it-yourself mechanic to make a mistake. It would be a terrible thing to do. I mean, I put so much time and energy into this car, and it's all been worthwhile. I mean, I could not have done this a year ago. I just couldn't have. Now, for a professional mechanic, this is nothing. This is like, it's like picking your nose. They're that good at what they do. But for someone like me, who's never done it before, it's a little challenging. So I always have multiple sources of information. I have somebody who knows what they're doing come over. I explain what I've done. They check my work. They make sure that I haven't missed anything. Because screwing up the timing on a car like this, that'd be a deal breaker. The point is, we couldn't put the RTV on the backside of the timing chain cover because when you put it on, you have about 10 minutes, it starts to firm up. You then have to bolt it down correctly so that it has a nice seal for the entire face so that it doesn't leak oil, because there's oil everywhere in here. This is where coolant goes. Coolant, they have their own gaskets. You want to keep them separate. And there's a particular way of doing the seal for the RTV. Let's see if I can find that. Yes. RTV. So you don't want to put gasket sealer where it's red. Apparently that's it. You want to put it where it's blue. Well, I wouldn't have known that, but that's important because these are oil channels, and the oil channels are important because if any of this gasket maker RTV gets in the oil channel, it will clog the oil channel. This is coolant, and then you want to seal the whole perimeter of the timing cover plate. And it's all good, but this is complicated stuff. And like I said, I am not a talented mechanic. I simply am not. And I freely admit that. You know, they always say you got to know your limitations. Well, I know my limitations. So that's where the car is. I've got to order some parts from the dealership, which, of course, it's New Year's, so it'll be next week. And then I will go ahead with a qualified mechanic who comes over and helps me out. We'll apply the timing cover faceplate onto it, and then we'll come over and let's see. The heads have been done for months. Little video on those. They're ready to rock and roll. They're clean. The valve stem seals have been done by a professional. They look great. So the heads are ready to rock and roll. We'll get the heads on. We'll get everything hooked back together. And then we're going to take the starter, fill the thing with oil, hook up the starter, battery, and we're going to turn it over while it's sitting on the engine stand just to get the oil going. We'll do it by hand first to make sure that the timing's absolutely correct. We don't want to have a valve hit one of these pistons. That would be a bad thing. And then once that's all done, which may be in the next few weeks, we'll reinstall it. It's so weird to see this thing sitting here for months, making absolutely no progress. But I have been making progress. So what's distracted me? Well, as everybody knows, I have a 4-post lift. And I love my neighbors. I mean, I love these people. My neighbors are such fine people, and I have a number of friends. So I do oil changes for them. Just recently did a friend who's got a Volvo, did the oil change. And you all know that I'm on the 3-month plan. So I've convinced a number of people that oil changes are much cheaper than engines. So put it up on the rack. We drain the oil. It works out really well. They're having a good time. I'm having a good time. They save a boatload of money. And many of them want to learn how to do it. Sorry for the cough there. And then I've been working on the problem with the RX-8 because as some people know, I put coilovers on here, Olin's coilovers. Well, I found one that had a manufacturing defect. Had to send it off to the factory. They're looking into it. So that project is almost done. I did the brakes. I put in some high-performance brakes, high-performance pads. I redid all the guide pins on everything. So it's all ready to go. I've got polyethylene bushings to install. I've made numerous efforts at trying to do it. Like I said, you got to know your limitations. So I'm going to have a friend of mine, when the weather turns nice, I'll flatbed this car over there. I actually got a trailer and a truck. Pull it over to his shop. We'll do the bushings. We'll do an alignment and a little extra negative camber. But I got to get this car ready for high-performance track days. HPDEs, high-performance driving events. Yeah, track days. So the car's ready to go. That's all going well. So things take a while. And then obviously I have a road trip planned, and the Audi is going to be the road trip car. It's a great car for a road trip. And I did a video on doing the transmission fluid, front and rear diff, center diff, all that stuff. Then I had to take care of the Prius. Might need some brake work, but no big deal. So that's the update on the S55. It's been a slow, steady progress. I was gonna make some great progress yesterday, but I'm missing a bolt, and that's just the way it is. So I'm gonna go to the dealer. I'll probably have to get this from Chicago. The water coolant temp sensor. They probably have the bolt. So maybe this week, if I'm lucky, I'll get that timing plate face cover done. I'll get the heads on. I'll get to put some oil in it. But something will come up. That's always the way it is. But it's going to be a great engine. Change the engine mounts on it because the old ones were crap. And you'd expect that from a car that's got 100,000 miles and is 20 years old and puts out 500 some horsepower with a supercharger. You sort of expect the motor mounts to be crummy. And it's so easy to do when it's out of the car. So that's the update. That's where everything's at. I haven't forgotten about the S55. It's just been, I got too many cars, too many projects, too many friends, too many things to do. But that's a good thing. So it's New Year's, gonna have fun. Going on a road trip, like I said, that's gonna be fun. Gonna get some parts. What have I learned? Cars take time. I mean, look at all the parts I have. I mean, I've been ready to get this thing put back together for a long time. But it just wasn't meant to be. I suppose if I had just focused on this car alone, had not done oil changes for friends, had not been working on the RX-8, it'd be different. But it is the way it's supposed to be. Anyway, in the middle of winter, it's January now, January 1st. Not driving this car outside anyway. I'm not driving the RX-8 outside. You know, the Audi and the Prius get all the work. Prius, of course, is my daily driver. It's so much fun. People get so annoyed. They're saying, you had this cool car here, and why don't you drive it? And I said, well, this thing's a perfect city car. The Prius is a perfect city car. You won't get mugged in it. Who cares? It gets great mileage. It's small. It's easy to park, easy to drive. So I'm a very, very lucky person. I have great friends. I have projects galore. And I will have to wait. I'm just going to say I can't wait for this car to be done, but I will wait. And it'll be fun. And of course, when we get the engine put in, there'll be plenty of things that we've missed, will have to be worked on. But I'm very blessed and very lucky. So I wanted to give everybody an update. I haven't forgotten about the S55. For those of you who've been watching, it will get done. So I love you all. I hope you're having a good time. I hope the new year brings happiness and joy and the ability of you to overcome any challenges in your lives, because I know there are lots of challenges for lots of people. So love you and goodbye.